Hello and welcome to Into Your Life podcast. I'm Lenka and I'm joined here by my wonderful co-host Natalie.
Hi, we invite you to join our weekly conversations about finding more life in one's life.
Well, what does it actually mean?
We have discussions with guests about ways to live happier, healthier, and more fulfilling lives, both personally and professionally.
That sounds great. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode. And as always, we have a wonderful guest. And as always, you never know what you're going to get with us. So today it's not an exception. We love getting different guests that even we don't necessarily know what's going to happen in those conversations. So today we have Melaine coming to join us, and we're going to talk about finances. Wave is a badass financial coach, but also their journey is just fascinating, discovering their authentic and heart-centered approach to finances, which again, finances, heart-centered, soul-led, authentic, doesn't sound common, and it's something that we're intrigued by. It sounds amazing. But as always, our introductions are always a bit waffly, and we prefer our guests to introduce themselves properly. So welcome, Wave. Lovely to have you here. Could you tell us and our listeners a little bit more about who you are and what you do? And then we're going to dive in and see where this conversation leads us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys, Natalie and Linka, so much for having me. I just redid my introduction in my head just now. Like, I am a rainbow being of love who is on this planet for some reason.
Love it. Love it so much. And we're all just human beings on this planet trying to figuring it out. So, let's dive into your particular authentic experience.
Definitely. Yeah, I've been having this question. Does everyone have the same level of existential angst as I do? And there's a reason this relates to what I like to talk about, which is money. I I think that like the way we approach life, right? Like, is it unconscious or conscious? An existential crisis and question, like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Why are we all here? And I don't know if that ever gets answered. I just kind of think of it as like an existential like place in my heart. And so in this journey of like, who am I? What am I doing here? Like, at least in my journey, it turned out to be like, well, I'm here to go live my life. I'm here to do this. I'm here to do that. But what was stopping me from doing all of my heart-centered dreams was money. And it was like shocking to my system because like, why would that of all things be holding me back? Most people are like, I'm holding myself back. And but like, I was like, no, this money is what's holding us back. And there's all these people out there, and I'm just so excited because, I have clients who are like major peacemakers. They're artists. They want to help the planet. They want to do something really passionate and beautiful with their lives. But the one thing holding them back is like the roots of like money holding them in place. So I just got really excited because I think sometimes we do try to fill that existential hole with stuff. And that because like at some point we feel so isolated, so much fear and guilt and shame around money that like we kind of get trapped in this weird like space of unconscious financial situations. So I know it's like kind of a lot to pick apart, but it's kind of like that broader idea of like, yeah, what are we doing here and how do we get there? And I really think unlocking our finances is one of the best ways. And for me, I don't know about you guys, I do not want to be trapped or like restricted. And so for me, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say you can't spend money. I love blowing money. I think it's great. And we have to kind of play by our own rules because it's a weird world out there.
I love it because it is like we have to admit, we have to accept that we live in a world that is ruled by money. The number one language we live by, it's driven by money. Anything and everything we do, unless we are a full-on hermit living in a forest, growing everything by ourselves, cut out of the society, or living in one of the still existing tribes, most of us being here, or listeners or around the world, we live in a world where money is everywhere. Like if you look around, if you look at each other, if you look around, there is money. So I love the fact that, for you, the answer or the source of potential answers to help us untangle this kind of a existential questions is to look at the money question and help yourself and others understand. And really one of the things that you touched on is the money can make us wild and free. I love that about like the freedom and wilderness of money unleashing for us. But I would love to know then a bit more about your journey to rediscovering that the money is the thing. Like what triggered it? What was your relationship to money before? How did this magical thing happen for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I really like that because it does feel weird to be on a planet that reduces everything that we are into this currency. All your time, all your energy from the moment you wake up gets like put in value into what is now a digital number. And there can be nothing more disassociative than that. It's like, are your heart and soul, we call it right, like soul energy is like put into this thing. And then we just are like, whatever, it's nothing, or like we hate it. Do you know what I mean? Like most people are like, I hate money. I don't want to talk about it. But it's so weird because it is representative of us. And so I'm so eager to help people like kind of turn their heads towards it and even fall in love with it. So my journey is always been heart-centered. I always have just kind of followed my bliss. Um, and I mean, definitely there have been times in my life where I feel like people have tried to put me in a box. Like, you should probably be doing it this way. That's how life goes. And like, that just has never felt right to me. And on my journey to following my bliss, going here, going there, having medical debt or going to Burning Man or doing whatever it is I wanted, I racked up so much debt. And I just had no idea even like what debt meant to me. Honestly, again, it was just numbers on a thing. And like, it was. So for me, I guess like at some point, and there was a few moments in my life, but there was definitely like a turnaround where it was like, to get bigger and bigger dreams, I need to unlock what's going on here. And I remember being with my boss. I had the worst boss of all time, you guys. Sometimes I like to refer to her as Cruella de Vil. Um, she was so mean, but I could not leave that job because I had all that debt. And it just occurred to me so strongly in that moment, like, I can't live, like, this is not the way I'm gonna live. You have like this short little life and I'm gonna live it so good. So yeah, that wild and free part is so important to me because I wanted to get out of there and I wanted to live my own life and I wanted freedom. And yeah, I love the wild part because like you said earlier, like we're kind of like these wild animals on this planet. And yeah, we're elevated from like our primate friends, but I mean there is a sense that like, we don't need to live in the box. We can kind of do whatever we want. We just have to talk about it and figure it out. So I know I felt really isolated when I was going through that journey and I started reaching out for help. It turns out everyone else felt the same way. Like, yeah, first of all, I learned you weren't supposed to talk about money. I'd be like, you guys, I have so much debt. Like, what's going on? And people would be like, whoa. And finally, I found someone who was like, hey, I can help you. Like, this is going to be fine. I call her my first financial coach because I still go to her for help. But yeah, it's for me now, it's about ending that isolation feeling. And yeah, there's definitely tough parts along the journey, right? And, for me, like my parents died very young. and that was very transformative to me. And so I'm always kind of trying to figure out, like, how do I do it alone? Because like I didn't have anybody, and so I'm used to just doing it myself. But that's just logistically, that's just not how it works around here.
I really love the fact that you really kind of call things the way they are. There's no polishing, there's no pretending, because we are ultimately we're just and kind of animals. We are still not fully designed. We still have not evolved our biological selves to really live in this super high-tech, modern, elevated kind of a world. Like our bodies are still very much designed to be mostly outdoors, to follow, the natural cycles, to live with the land rather than be in these square cubes of, houses and apartments and locked in and sit in offices, not even 8 hours plus each day and eat ultra processed food and adding all of it on top of each other. And then have this red thread of and money is an essential part of all of that, because to have your house, which now we feel, the bigger the better, it's essential for our health and safety. And we can go into the psychological tiers of, safety net, everything. But then also admitting that we don't talk about this essence of life, almost money. We don't talk about it. We're not allowed to talk about it. And often people look at me kind of like, are you sure you want to say it out loud, when I say that maybe last year was my worst financial year in my business? But it was a really good year for me personally on my personal development journey. And it's a really good year. If you look at the balance sheet, it was horrendous. For someone who's been 8 years in business, you would imagine it to be better. But at the same time, my focus was not business. My focus was not money. And I knew that the money is going to come at some point. But admitting it out loud to the business community, for example, that's like, are you for sure this is going to hurt your reputation? What are people going to think about it? So I love that there are more people, and meeting people like yourself, which is like, I'm going to say it as I believe it, as I think about it, as it comes to me, without any fuss or frills or kind of bows on top and hiding it in secret. So I would love for you to talk a little bit more about then, yes, you had a personal journey and maybe this is by your nature, but how can we all find a bit more of this bravery to be authentic, to really open up about our money and just follow our gut, for our intuition, for follow whatever the hell we feel like we want, because we live in this system that gives us lots of constraints. This is how you do it with debt. This is how you do with investment. This is how you do it with, again, finance is very much black and white, kind of hard rules. And then we're bringing in this soft and squishy and colorful and fluid kind of an energy. So how do we mesh it together?
I love that. That's actually how I often present, like at our local pub or at our local coffee shop, and I always warn people, this is the squishy part, this is not the math. If we were robots, we would hit the math all the time, but we are not robots. So we do not function. If everyone did math properly, we'd all be rich, it'd be fine. But outside of macroeconomic forces. So, and actually, let me just hit that caveat there, which is, I know we live in a really strange planet with a lot of greed and a lot of strange forces, and it feels like we're at the mercy of them at all times. And I do want to acknowledge that. And so, one of my main communities is the LGBT community, which is often disenfranchised from all sorts of systems. So, the goal for me is to like re-empower and and get confidence back, so we can carve out places that we belong, right? And that's true for everyone, though. Most people feel like their government's not supporting them, all these things. So I just want to acknowledge that exists. Outside of my squishy parts. So yeah. So this is something I've been thinking about a lot, you guys. Like, I don't know about you, but it's like, at least here, I live in Oregon. There's a lot of conversation right now about what's moral and what's ethical in our country. And I think some people, like they have religions or faith and they kind of get their ethics and morals from there. I'm someone who I follow like where I think love is. And the reason that is true is because I've kind of decided that like I'm going to sit down and do some core value work. So I yeah, I think we're all exposed to things all day, right? It's like 10,000 ads a day now. And everyone else's opinions and politics and people. And so what I've discovered is that when I close my eyes, which honestly, guys, let's just be honest, like I am a thrill seeker. And so closing my eyes is not my typical MO, but like closing my eyes and being quiet. And I actually have like a face mask, I have like earplugs. Like I just want to know who I am. Like who am I without anyone else's input? And so this is a practice that I ask people to go through with me because when we kind of know who we are, we develop a North Star, our own ethics, and then we can follow them generally in principle, right? So some of my core values are love, magic, and laughter. So when I make financial decisions, it gets really granular at this point. I come back to like a granular, like I'm at Target. What am I buying? And is this matching like my core values? So it's a long way from like what do I believe? What are my ethics? To what am I purchasing right now? But this is kind of the journey that I'm really curious about because if money represents our life force energy, and what we believe guides us to where we're going, then we have this like perfect confluence of I know where I want to go and I know how to spend my time here on the planet. So yeah, I don't know. Have you guys ever like do you guys ever do core value? Like think about like just like 3 to 5 words that you're like, I just believe these to the bottom of my core. Yeah, so it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think, Natalie is a coach. That's definitely something part of her practice. I, on a regular basis, go to working with a coach, and I just finished 6 months of executive coaching. And definitely values have been a big part of it. They're kind of making sure that they're realigned. But I love how you brought it back into then the money decisions to literally be like, I'm in a shop and I'm buying something, and it could be a small and big purchase. And then having this, there needs to be a little bit of a trigger. There needs to be a little bit of, intuition, but also intention behind like stopping yourself in these automatic patterns to be like, why am I buying this? Is it aligned with values? Which one will it bring me? More of the laughter, more of the heart, more of the joy, more of the magic. Instead of just instinctively just buying this, oh, it's on discount, it's cheap, or I've seen it on ad, I've seen some. So I love this connection between the values that we have and being aligned with that, and our values can change, and we can have like the word of the year and have a year intentionality on top of our values. But how do you do it then to train yourself almost to notice in the moment? Because it's all good to have values and be aligned with our values and have a post-it note with our values, but to live so practically as to go to a shop or restaurant or online and have the ability to connect it back.
Yeah. I am so desperate to know who I am in this society. It's like I just saw another ad. It was like make $20,000 in 30 days with my social media workshop. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like I am craving authenticity. I am desperate for it. And yeah, so going in is just like oh, it's just like that sweet spot because I'm so desperate to hear my own voice. I just want to like emphasize that there has to be a hunger, like a craving for something else in your life. And most of my clients are laying in bed at night. Um, I was I was laying in bed at night. I remember feeling like the shame and embarrassment that I had climbed myself into. My partner at the time, we're still together, looked at me and said, "Look, I don't know if we can build a future together. Like, I'm trying to like move forward, and you are being held back. with all your debt and your whole lifestyle thing going on. Because like I had a lifestyle that was just like, who cares about money, right? But she's like, how are we gonna buy a house? Like this is crazy. And just living in that fear and shame was just unbearable to me. So in that kind of, and I don't mean to like scare us with the words desperate and craving, right? But they really are a place that I think people need to get to start realizing like, when am I going to take ownership of my life? Like when am I going to carve out my version of this lifetime? And it's that feeling like I was, like I said, I was trapped at my boss. She was like literally chucking a notebook at me, and I felt desperate. Like I need to get out of this, right? And so when we are making those choices, and it's not perfect, right? But the practice is you get better and better at it. So I have a budgeting app that I typically make most people use, and it has a widget on the phone. And so you can look at it and it's like, hey, you've got $60 for the bookstore. And I'm like, so I have my widget. I'm like, all right. So, I can buy $60 on Amazon, whatever. But when I go to my local bookstore to Tsunami Books and I drop money there, I am buzzing for weeks. I'm like, these books came from the bookstore. And I'm like thinking about that journey and how I love them so much and how much better it feels than shopping at Amazon. And so it just like matches this core value of mine, which is like community and togetherness and an authentic experience with people who are there. And so it's just one purchase, right? And on the other side, right, my partner and I went to Target and I thought we were like on this mini date. We were shopping and it was so much fun. And we came home with like $400 worth of stuff, like a lamp and all these things. And in the morning, I woke up and I was like, Lauren, this is not aligning with anything that I've set up for this year, like who I want to be, the things we want to spend on. And so I marched like half of it right back. I mean, first of all, the lamp didn't work. It was broken, but it was also another trigger. It reminded me, you don't need this lamp anyway. So, it's a conversation with yourself, but I think there is a mental shift, right? So I'm asking people to, instead of have finances on their periphery and behind them, to really center it like right directly in front of your face, in front of everything that you do. And that journey is wild, right? It's like from fear to love. I mean, it's almost most people's worst nightmare when I bring it up. Like, I do not want to fall in love with my finances, but I want to encourage people to think about it because I've walked through that tunnel and like I'm on the other side now. I'm like, you guys come this way because it's so good. And I think like I said earlier, there's just this like mentality for me where we all should be lifting each other up. This is not the time for self-care. This is the time for radical community care. I think we had a self-care revolution and now I'm like, what's next, you guys? Let's take care of each other. Yeah, so unfortunately, we really have to want it. And so those little moments, how do you get triggered? Yeah, there's tips and tricks for sure. I mean, I don't want to be able to get too neurotic and be like, can I even buy this? Is this my core value? But it's a lifestyle and it's something where you can make conscious decisions. And like I said, you guys blow money where you love it. If you love Target, like we will save for that. And if you're like me and you love travel, we're gonna save so much money for it. So when I'm traveling, I don't worry.
It also sounds like it's getting rid of these beliefs about money. These money doesn't grow on trees, money is the root of all evil. And I can't think of any others, but there's loads of them that we are sort of we grow up with. It's you only have money if you work hard. If you don't work hard, you won't get money, and all these beliefs that we are sort of given to us as kids, as children, or going through the school system or whatever. These beliefs sit with us, and then there's this belief also is, am I worthy of having this money? Am I good enough? Can I do it? Can't I do it? Do I have to stay in this rubbish job and I get the Cruella, what is it, the Cruella boss. Yeah, I've had a few of those, hence being self-employed. I think a lot of self-employed people are because of bosses. But it's this idea that, do I deserve that promotion, or do I deserve to run a business and have a successful, financially successful business? So all these beliefs that we have around money, it's something that sounds like we need to come through those beliefs to the other side to, you know what, money's good, money can help me get what it is that I'm wanting because it aligns with me. And like you said, when you go shopping, does it align with you? And from what I'm understanding, so do correct me if I'm off on the wrong track, is quite often we'll shop on emotion. So we're feeling insecure or lack confidence, we'll go shopping. We are pissed off with husbands or partners, we'll go shopping. We're angry with somebody, we'll go shopping, or we eat. And I think that shopping can often, like you said, having that splurge or that binge shopping expedition and just buying random stuff is a way to help us to feel better, to make us feel better, which is just in that moment until you get home and it's like, what is the stuff that I've bought? So from what I'm gathering is that being aligned is actually buying something that is of more value to you as a person. So you use the example of buying $60 worth of books on Amazon, or going to your local bookshop and buying $60 worth of books in the bookshelf, and that hot bookshop, the bookshop, that whole experience of supporting a local business, of actually being in a shop and most probably touching books and reading the back of the books, and if you're anything like me and a bit of a bookworm, sometimes smelling the books, you know, when you open it and there's that brand new book smell, there's nothing better, or even the secondhand book smell. But just being there and looking at them, looking at the pretty covers and, that cover looks pretty, let me see what that's about. Is that something that I'm wanting? Or finding all the authors in one place. You don't get that on Amazon. You get that in a shop. And if that's part of your values on wanting to support a local community or a local business in your community, wanting to be part of something and supporting most probably a small business owner, then going there would align with your values as opposed to just popping onto Amazon and supporting a huge organization that really doesn't care who you are and what you're about. So am I sort of on the right track with when the shopping bit, it's more about who you are and really not just allowing your emotions to get in the way?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that belief bit because I definitely grew up being told money does not grow on trees. I thought we were more broke than we were because my dad just turned out to be very frugal. You know, so all of our beliefs, like, where do they come from? They come from our parents and society, and we really get sold like what we're supposed to believe. And it's just frustrating to me because I'm just craving to know what I think about stuff because, like, most of the day I'm thinking about what everyone else is telling me, right? So yeah, there's this interesting place, like these triggers. It's like and I do this too. I kind of get in these moods and now I'm shopping and it's all mixed together. It's really hard to pull things apart because we spend money all day because we are earning money all day and with our life force energy. I mean, if you're at work 40, 60 hours a week here in America, which is bonkers, by the way, Bernie Sanders just introduced a bill for 32 hour a week work days. You know, you're working all the time, so you're spending all the time, and it's just like this endless loop. And I've been there, and it still happens to me too. You know, loneliness and it's not just loneliness; it's an existential loneliness, you guys. Like, what are we doing? What am I doing? You know, that can easily be a trigger for me. You know, I know people whose triggers are like the kitchen needs to be cleaned. Now I'm shopping. Now I'm getting delivery for like a week because I'm not going to clean that. And so that's all okay. But yeah, there is this unraveling of what we believe. The triggers. Yeah, something I've been thinking about when you were talking about, like, yeah, the bookstore experience. Man, you just brought me right back. Like, that was a 3-hour event, and it made my life worth like living in that moment. Like, that was what I wanted to spend my time on. And we are on this weird hunt right now to like the cheapest item. And we're just going to buy a lot of it and cheap stuff. And then we have this other thinking as a society where we're all really worried about the planet and where it's going. I think a majority of people are worried about that. So why are we buying all this junk to fill the planet with? And I know because when Amazon was first out, I did all that purchasing. I don't even have anything to show for it. That stuff's all in landfill. And instead of kind of like kicking myself for it or being mean, it's like, hey, that's okay. I now know that like my values are like, I want to care for the planet. So I'm going to buy like way less, and it's okay. You guys know those sites that are popping up right now. I don't even want to say their names. It's like, oh, $5 for, and for all this stuff that, and I see the trap. But it's, in my experience, like with my core values, there are way better places for me to spend my money. But then, like you're saying, because like my whole goal is to feel really good all day. Right? It's like, what actually makes me feel good? That's my question.
And with these sites that you brought in, because there's so much in it to unwrap in terms of it's so cheap, where is the quality, how much are we going to use it, how long it's going to last, are we buying it just because the ad triggered us, because other people are shopping there, because we want something new, because something emotional, like what is really the reason for us to shop on these places. But it's also, then thinking about, is it really something that I want and need and will have in my life, or is it impulsive for me to shop there? And what would life be if I shopped somewhere else? And for me, it triggers thoughts of abundance and scarcity. Because what these apps are creating is the feeling of, oh, buy it's cheap because, there's not enough money in the world for you to buy expensive. So why don't you buy cheap? You can treat yourself with something cheap, because that's almost, it brings it to your own worthiness. Like, oh, if you buy cheap, like that's all you're worth. Like you're worth only $5 because you're not worth more, because there's not enough in the world for everyone. So buy here. So it's interesting to look at the dynamics of what it can trigger in us, because for me, immediately I knew a couple names when you mentioned. I was like, yeah, I know what you're talking about, which apps, which websites, which ads I keep seeing. And then I start thinking about, what is it telling to me about me, this desire to buy there? Is it that I'm not worthy enough and good enough and I only deserve to treat myself with something for £5? Or is it something that, there is luck and I don't have enough money, and if I want something nice to treat myself, I have to go with something cheap?
No, I'm really, it's really powerful. And I'm just blown away by that thought. I'd never really put that together. And there is a sense of privilege that I think people hear, like, oh, well, it must be nice. And yeah, the truth is the journey is not always pretty. Like if this is your income and these are your expenses, this is the radical effing truth, y'all. I don't know what to say. Like, I also am confused by this 3D planet often. I don't like to be restricted, but that's the reality of it. But then for you to connect it back to like how it reflects on you. I mean, that is so powerful. Thank you, Lenka. That really, really blows my mind.
Yeah, I do start thinking about how do we start to unpack it, because there's so much to unpack and there's such a journey to be had. And absolutely, I respect the fact that some people's finances are the finances they are, and some people can only afford cheap stuff. And if that's something for now that that your budget is so restricted that this is genuinely the only thing you can afford, then of course, like I have Like, even though I am more, again, on the more sustainable end, but if you know that this cheap thing is the only thing you can afford, and it's actually not always the worst quality. Like, if you look around, they actually produce decently stuff. But if you, again, bring it in to allow yourself to grow and find the next step on your journey, and next time be able to buy something better and help others, or figure out this kind of a dynamic. I think it really comes down to what you were talking about, the intentionality, to alignment with consciously, intentionally, I am choosing this, but with understanding that this does not reflect my self-belief and my self-worth.
I love this. Can I read you guys? There's a documentary called Minimalism on Netflix. Can I read to you guys what I love? It's kind of one of their opening statements. They say, imagine a life with less stuff, less clutter, less stress, less debt and discontent, a life with fewer distractions. Now imagine a life with more time, more meaningful relationships, more growth and contribution and contentment. So I love this statement. I think it's, can you imagine that we're saying like less is more? Like that is the new belief here. And that time and real relationships, and for me, like my core value, like who I am, like I'm going to grow those, and I'm going to reduce all the other things, stuff, stress, the endless cycle of work and home. You know, that alone, for me, I you know, like no one deserves to live like that. So we want less of this and more of this. And that's like the basics. And yeah, so if we're getting real with our finances, you know, this isn't about cutting things that are important to us. We need to hard slash things that we do not care about ultimately. You know, I do love buying certain things, but at the end of the day, I will withhold those from myself because I have really big dreams. And those dreams support more time, more family, more relationships. And yeah, sometimes blowing money on travel, right? Or whatever that is. But like, again, I want to feel less fear, less shame, less out of control. And so kind of, you know, I absolutely do not shirk or shy away from the word of budget. That absolutely is going to do, absolutely is the thing here. We got to do something. And that's for business finances too. I work with so many solopreneurs who forget that CFO hat because we don't want to deal with finances, personal or business. But like, this is my special gift, and I love sharing it and helping people unlock it together because I don't actually think you have to do it alone. So yeah, I love this reflection. Thank you guys. Thank you for bringing that. And
I think also a lot of, like you said, the budget, it's not necessarily about cutting out stuff, but maybe it might be doing it in a different way. Or you were talking about the cheap shops, or convenience as well, or just ways that we have been sort of programmed into shopping now. But is that the right way? So for example, I love going to our local farm shops because it's local. It's we know the people there, they know us, they keep stuff for us. We know that it's not been traveled all over the world, and it doesn't support conglomerates. I'm a big one for supporting local business owners, but that takes time and effort. I can go online and I can order stuff online from Amazon, from the superstores, I can pretty much never leave my house and everything can get delivered. But it takes away that, which for me, my core values are humanness and connection. I mean, these are really important to me. That even the words of the year that I have for the year, well, connection means connecting with other people. So ordering everything online and getting delivered is not connection, but going to the local farm shop and buying local, buying sustainable food, buying meat that's not been farm fed, not been factory produced, is connection and connecting to my humanness. But yes, it takes time and effort, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's more expensive, or it might not mean that I don't have as many choices. It just means that I'm following a more core value or valued way of shopping, which is much nicer, because usually I get a nice cup of coffee at the farm shop, I have a nice chat, I find out what the local gossip is, or whatever it is. Or being in England and being British, we complain about the weather. Regardless of what the weather is, we complain about it. It's too hot, too cold, too windy, too dry, too wet, too whatever. So you have those moments of those connection. But it doesn't necessarily mean that there's that splurge, or that you are over budgeting, or that you can't do something. If you are on a really tight budget, you can still find your right ways of shopping without just going cheap, because cheap is not always the answer. And I know that here in the UK, you get a lot of these buy one, get one free, bog offs, buy one, get one free, or you buy one, get one half price. They do a lot of that. But the UK is one of the highest countries of food wastage. So the thing is it really buy one, get one free? Or is it you just being coerced into spending money because you think you're getting something for free? So is there a real value in these deals that you are being fed, that, oh, save money, get this deal, and you think, oh wow, yeah, there's little numbers, yes, that looks like a really great deal. But is it a great deal? Is it something that is worth it? And just going back to my values, and I know you mentioned your values, is food wastage for me is a huge thing, because I think that there's enough food in the world for everybody, that nobody should be starving. But we are not so privileged that we just can go around wasting food. So you can ask my husband, I will put meals together with what's in the fridge that needs using up. Right, that's what you're getting. It's dinner a la Natalie, and that's it. It will never be made again, because it's just so unique for that one time. But that's, for me, that's my value, is wastage. So therefore, going to a farm shop, A, I'm supporting a local business. B, I'm not being sucked into these deals, because I am human and I am tired sometimes, and I will go in, and the pretty pictures and the pretty food that's all nicely laid out and deal, and we have the special, a one-off, and whatever wording that they use. This is Lenka's department, the marketing, the lovely marketing that they use, that sucks you in. No, Lenka doesn't suck you in. She just understands marketing. I'll just say that. But the thing is, we do get suckered into it and think, oh, I'm tired, I just need to just get dinner for tonight. Oh yeah, I'll just get all of this. But is that fitting our budget? Is that really the way that we want to go? So yeah, budgeting for your finances is very important, as you said, personally, in business and everything else. But it's also a good way to budget for your values, for who you are, for the person that you want to be, or the person that you want to become. We do need to budget, because where do we spend our money? And we have so much power with our money. We might think, well, but I'm not rich, I'm not one of them elites, I'm not earning millions and millions. How do I have the power? I have the power by not walking into one of the supermarkets in the UK and spending my money there, but by walking into the local farm shop and spending my money there. It might be 20 quid or 40 quid, might not be a lot of money. But if 2 people do it, then 4 people do it, then 8 people do it, we can bankrupt these people within minutes. So we have power. We have that power with our little budgets that helps us to get through the month, that helps us to fulfill our dreams. As you said, you've got big dreams, you're working towards them. We have that power just by where do we spend our money? What are we doing with our money? How are we being true to ourselves? And even if you are on an extremely tight budget, you still have a huge amount of power if we just take control of it. Am I sort of making sense? And yeah, or have I just totally lost the plot and I'm like, whoa, what planet are you on?
No, absolutely. You're talking about value-driven finances and why, like, it's not just numbers, right? There's this whole world behind it. And that, like, we're voting with our dollars or our quid. I don't know what is the currency, what's the greater currency word there. But yeah, like I love this. And I had that sense when you were talking about it's like, yeah, but I'm tired. And my other thing is I'm having anxiety. Like I am an introvert. I do not want to go talk to people at the farmers markets. But I do love going to the farmers market because I love vegetables and fruits, but I like being around people. But there's like most people are thinking, I'm exhausted. I am burnt out. I am having social anxiety, and I am absolutely not going to the bookstore. I'm not going to do this or that. And so it's a really hard place to be down and out. But it's like that exact place, I think, that allows you to kind of be like, enough is enough. How much sicker can I get? How much more anxiety can I have? I need to reach out. Like this is again, like this isn't a bootstrap thing where this is an American concept, right? Where I'm going to pull myself up by my bootstraps, the American dream, I'm all alone. And if I do it, no one else help me. We have such a weird idea of that. Now it's like, I'm tired. I am exhausted. I'm broke. I'm beyond broke. There's now no hope for me. And that's like the moment where I'm like, this is how I felt. And it's like the time to reach out. Yeah. And I love that we're voting with our dollars and how powerful we are. Like the local bookstore, yeah, only 10 people need to roll in more per day. It's like, we're going to have, I don't want my community to collapse. And yeah, it's such, I'm a little overwhelmed because there is so much to pick apart. Like Lenka said, like, how do we unravel all of this? And so, yeah, again, it's like coming to center. Who cares what any of us think? Like, what do you think? I put on my face mask, I put on my earbuds. And again, guys, like I always joke, like I don't even call it meditating anymore. I just call it closing your eyes because people can be very scared of meditating. I'm like, just close your eyes. Like, who am I? What do I want? Who am I going to reach out to? What do I actually believe? And can I live that? Man, like just that desperation to know who you are is enough to kind of trigger all of these other decisions. Like, absolutely, and my values align with yours. Like, I want to go to the farmers market and support local farmers who aren't doing like monocropping, and like it's an endless domino effect of every choice that I make. But ultimately it's like my ethical compass is if I'm feeling good, like I'm on the right track. And to discover that I thought I was feeling fine buying books on Amazon, and then finally rolling down to the bookstore and realizing I haven't felt that great. Like there's something that feels even better.
And it's interesting you touched on it with it feels even better. Like we have this, we're used to things being in a certain way. So we're used to things feeling, good or bad. And we kind of live in a world where we believe that, what we're feeling and experiencing that's it. Like that's as good as it gets. And we are potentially, seeking these thrills and stuff like that. But then it is about, in the moment, sometimes making a little sacrifice. And you were talking about it of like, well, I may be, even though I like these things, I will consciously choose to, not buy them or not do them and put the money aside to do something more meaningful. I think because we're so used to all these little reinforcements, little purchase here, little purchase there, it's ongoing boost for our, dopamine system, for our happiness systems, that we are then not realizing that, we are always seeking the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And we're almost like disposing of our budget for some of the bigger, more meaningful, more impactful things. It's the kind of immediate gratification of like, oh, I will buy something quick now and quick now and quick now. But that's not going to leave a proper trail of feeling gratitude and feeling happy and feeling settled and feeling, remembering those things even months and years after, and be telling stories about it to people. Like for that kind of little purchase, and again, it doesn't need to be little in terms of the money, like even small, cheap things could mean a lot, but it means a little thing that is just non-conscious, that just automatic, that just happens to us because we don't budget, we're afraid to budget, we don't want to think about our money, we're not looking at our spending habits, so we just go around and buy stuff, and then we realize we don't remember any of that. None of it made an impact compared to, the stories we've been telling about the bookstores, the holidays that people want to go in, the houses, the family homes you want to buy. For me, right now, most of my money goes to my cat. My partner is pretty much annoyed by me spoiling the cat, but I'm like, he's a cat. Like, we're not planning to have children, so come on, let me spoil the cat. Like, I know, again, we're not super rich or anything. We're living reasonably frugally, but I'm like, I'd rather spend my money on my cat because look at him, how cute he is.
I love this. And yeah, like there's no judgment on what people want to blow money on. Like I definitely, wave approved. Absolutely pets. Yeah, I love that. I can't believe like that idea. It's like tiny purchase, tiny purchase, tiny purchase, tiny purchase all day, every day, every day. And then you look back and like you're saying, there's just no trail there of a life, right? It's just kind of like a mystery. Like, what did I do? And I've been talking about this bookstore visit for months. I can't shut up about it, And so I wonder, like, yeah, do you think, I don't know, do you guys think we're filling an act? Like, what are we trying to fill by doing this? And I'm absolutely a person who follows all of my brain chemicals. I'm trying to get my dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin hits all day long. But yeah, it is a question mark. One thing we do in my family and that I sometimes have my clients do is we do like 15 no spend days in a month. And it's harder than it sounds. She's like, well, I've got to get gas, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. And like, yeah, maybe we squeeze those to certain days, but that means some days we are not spending money. And it's like, what does that feel like? And another thing we do is a 7-day challenge, or sometimes it's just 5 days, honestly. It gets shorter every time. It's, what can we not spend this week? Like, how can we meal plan so tight and just get really clear? Because whatever is left over that we would have spent at the end of the week, we're going to put it towards our vacation fund. So even if we can squeeze $20 out, hey, I'm going to make soup and I'm going to batch cook soup on Sunday. We're going to eat soup all week, but it's only 5 days. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, we're going to get sick of the soup, but like, we know we want to travel. So, there's some kind of gamification. It's not always just like this, just like torture. Like we're trying to do this in a fun way. And it's like, do you want to look back? And like, I do not remember any of my Amazon moments, like, right. But this one bookstore moment, guys, I'm probably going to go to the grave with this one. And I can't wait to go back. And, technically I only had $40 for the bookstore. But if you spend 60, it's okay. Like budgets don't need to be met, but you do need to shift money then. And like that's a big thing is people say, well, budgets don't work for me. I've tried them. They're too restrictive. But really they should be adaptable and flexible and it's okay. And over time, you will start to, create these systems where it's like, oh, I went to the farmer's market and I saw this thing and I really wanted it. And that's okay. Like it's okay to want things. And also, there's small, medium, long-term goals. I'm on a big long-term goal this year, but last year was all small goals. I just need to save $40 to the end of the week, right? So, there's just a lot of ways to practically do this. And then there's all that bigger, squishy stuff, which I love talking about. So hopefully like there's a little bit of help here. When I think of where people should start, like number one is tracking. And this is actually the hardest part, like sitting down and auditing 1 month past. Ultimately, it's helpful to do 3, but it's quite a bit of work. So you just take one month past work of what happened, and you put it into categories. Like, okay, this was grocery shopping, this was me for coffee, this was gifts, yada yada. And you just kind of look at what's happening. But like, you can do this alone, but really you should invite your best friend over and say, look, we're not hiding in our finances anymore, you and me. If we're really best friends, or if we need to do this together. Like, let's do this together and look at each other's numbers. And yeah, there's a lot of feelings that are going to happen. But like, this is that life. This is that trail of like, you will remember that day. I remember the day my best friend and I sat down and looked at our finances. It's over 10 years ago now, like where I was sitting in her bedroom and all these things. So, step one is definitely tracking, looking at a month past. And then as we move forward, we want to just reallocate where we're putting certain monies. So there's steps after that. I always recommend YNAB, which is youneedabudget.com. That's like a very common budgeting app, but that also does that. And then from there, like, yeah, who am I? What do I want? And yeah, breaking that glass ceiling, like you said, like we're so content and we know we want more, but we're kind of trapped in our contentment. So we just make little purchases. But like, what do you really want? And how do we break that glass ceiling that we've created for ourselves? And once we have big dreams, it's kind of scary. Like, oh, I don't want to dream too big. Like that's overwhelming. But I want to like absolutely encourage people to dream as big as possible. And it's okay if you never get there. Like that's not a big deal. Yeah. So I always have a little fund in my budget that's called for a future idea. Because one day I'm gonna have another idea and I'm gonna need money to do it.
I love that, the fund for a future idea. That sounds like a great plan. And you've given us sort of tips on how to start, like you said, budget. One of the things that I think with the little purchases is this instant gratification, like there's dopamine and having the happy hormones going instantly. Whereas when you've got a plan for something like those bigger goals or more long-term, like eating soup for 5 days so that you could save $40 for that holiday, that's not instant gratification because you don't experience it until you actually go on that holiday, which could be 6 months or a year down the line, depending on where you're going and how much you need to save for it. Whereas these little purchases do that instant gratification, which they don't necessarily last a long time, depending on what it is that you're getting. So I think this is where the idea of budgeting and having those moments of not spending. I had a friend, she spent 2023 was her year of not buying anything new. So no new clothes. She's a stylist. She's a color stylist. And she banned herself from buying a new item of clothing for the whole year. And she had a lot of weddings and funerals to go to. But the thing that she did is she really worked her wardrobe. She really wore stuff that she hadn't worn that often, because why wear something when you can buy something new? And she really learned to style things in different ways and to wear something with a different accessory or something. So she really played with what she had. And that's something that I think, wow, we don't need to always spend money for whatever reason. It's really playing with that. And when you mentioned about the budgeting, that just reminded me of what my friend had done. And I'm like, it sounds amazing to really appreciate what you got. And she really got to see what clothes she liked and saved up all that money as well. So, the advantages. But one thing is, like you said, the squishy stuff. We can talk for ages about the squishy stuff and how how we can really make money feel better for us, or we feel better thinking about money. And you have given some amazing tips. But this is the time when we do like to ask our guests to maybe share more tips that you've got, or that gold nugget, or is there something we haven't asked you or haven't touched on that you would really like to share with the audience now? Now's the time. Now's your space.
Definitely. Thank you, Natalie. You guys are awesome, first of all. Just talking with you, it just feels like family. So yeah, that no, like, I cannot believe someone whose life career is fashion had a no buy like clothing. That blows my mind. I am absolutely enthralled by this idea. I'm not like, it's one of those things where you're like, would I even be capable of that? Yeah, and that idea of restriction somehow created probably a ton of magic in her life. And I'm just like, ooh, that sounds so fun, but like scary and daunting. Yeah, so for me, just some takeaways, like reviewing your finances that 1 month. That's a really good place to start, because what you're doing is you're confronting what you've done. Now some people are like, look, that's what I expected. That I knew that's what was going on, and it's not a big deal. Or like, yeah, it's freaking tight. Like, of course it's like 3 items, like rent, food, and car. Other people, it's revealing. It's like, that's what I've been spending my money on. This is crazy. I can't wait to make changes. So, yeah, you can do this all alone. I just always want to bring it out into the light with other people. Bring in your best friend, bring in someone close, show them like, look, I'm in all this debt and I'm scared, right? Or I don't know how I'm going to get caught up. Because when we have 2 minds working on it, 2 minds thinking about it and bringing their heart to it. I do have a free guide that kind of a little bit walks through some things. It is beliefs and mindset. Again, because we aren't robots, this squishy stuff is actually the key to unlocking all of this. I could absolutely talk numbers all day. I love them. And I really think that most people will get a lot of value out of unlocking some of their core beliefs and what they actually want. So I do have a freebie available on my website, which is coachingwithwave.com. Yeah, now I may have lost the thread of exactly what your question is. My time to shine. Yeah, you know what I do? I walk through. I become people's financial adventure buddy. So if anyone was like, I actually am, I just had a friend be like, look, I'm at the bottom of the barrel. I need help. And so that I said, look, this is my skill set. This is what I bring to the world. You see a hornet's nest, and I see it all laid out. It's clear to me. So I provide people with an action plan, a strategic plan with your money, things that are actually going to get you where you want to go. It's rainbow. I definitely infuse a lot of unicorns and rainbows into my content, because like life should be fun, and if money is just boring, like no one wants to do that. So I help people walk from like wherever they're at to wherever they want to go, and we do it together. So that's something because there is a lot of pieces to it, and people can absolutely do this on their own or with people, but I kind of help people do it now, streamline it. And a small investment in me is like the next 80 years of your life. And that's what someone did for me. I made a small investment in my financial coach, and I was 30,000 in debt, and now I am absolutely in the green. So most importantly, though, I know who I am more and more every day. And that's been the biggest gift is, yeah, all of this advertising, all of this stuff all day. You're at the store, and like life. But just having that ability to slow my mind, slow my heart, and know who I am and know what I want. That's like the greatest gift out of this.
Thank you. That is great advice is knowing who you are. I think that is so important, because that then can help you knowing how you want to spend your money and where you want to spend your money. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing, that's all that you have shared. And I was going to ask you, where can people reach you? You've already mentioned your website, and please send us your link. Also, send us a link for your freebie. We will put that on. Is there any other places that people can reach out?
Sure. So yeah, my website is a really fun place to be. So I definitely recommend it. It's coachingwithwave.com. I also have an Instagram. It's financial coaching with Wave. And this is a radical place too. I have a video of me in the shower for some authentic conversations. And I also have a client named Bad Betty who has left a testimonial. So please check out Bad Betty. That's financial coaching with Wave on Instagram.
Love it. And I think this is the first time somebody's actually said, go on my website, because it's like lovely and it's amazing. It's a really fun place to be.
It is.
I like, here's my website. Don't check it out too much. But no, thank you for that. And we will put all the links in the comment section so that people can access it if they want to reach out or grab your freebie. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us and showing a different way of looking at finances. I've never had squishy and finances in the same sentence. So it's really been interesting to have it explained in a different way. We've obviously talked about money mindset in previous episodes. We've talked about money. Money is something that Lenka has been very much on a money mindset journey. So it's been wonderful having these conversations over especially over last year. But you've come at it in such a different way and really brought the humanness into it, the squishy. I think I'm always going to look at finances now as squishy. But thank you for that. And for our listeners, is there anything that you have been triggered by, or is there something that's like that aha moment is like, wow, finances don't have to be such a scary thing? What are the beliefs that you have around finances that you can maybe try get rid of or find ways to get rid of? What have you got from this conversation, from this way that Wave has been talking about finances in a different way? Or is there something you would like us to talk about on this podcast? Or is there somebody who you think would be a great guest? Please do share with us. Do reach out to us. And is there any way that we can help you? Let us know. And again, Wave, thank you so much for sharing the squishy in the finances. I love that. And yes, just good luck with all your big dreams. You look so excited when you talk about them, and we would love to hear how things are going with you, and please reach out. And until next time, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
If you enjoyed listening to our conversation, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and don't forget to subscribe. We would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and write a short review.